Adriano, the emperor who lost his empire, the Brazilian striker who had everything: pace, power, the hardest shot in football, technical ability that shouldn't exist in a 6'2" frame, and for about 3 years looked like he'd become the best striker on the planet. Then depression and alcohol destroyed it all. 2004-2006 at Inter Milan. Adriano was unstoppable. 47 goals in 89 matches. Absolute physical specimen who could dribble past defenders, bulldoze through them, or just leather the ball into the top corner from 30 yards. Brazil's starting striker, Serie A top scorer. Genuinely looked like the heir to Ronaldo's throne. Then his father died in 2004, and Adriano was never the same. Depression hit hard. He started drinking heavily, stopped training properly, gained weight, partied constantly. Inter tried to help, but he kept disappearing back to Brazil for weeks at a time. By 2009, he was gone from Europe. Tried comebacks at Flamengo, Roma, Corinthians, brief flashes of the old Adriano, then back to the alcohol and depression. Retired at 34, admitting publicly he struggled mentally and used alcohol to cope. Not lazy, not lacking talent. Just a man who lost his father and couldn't handle the grief while living under the pressure of being the emperor. Adriano, 2026. Retired, living in Rio. Occasionally appears looking healthier, but the career is gone. The biggest waste of pure talent football has ever seen. Mario Balotelli. Why always me? A striker with world-class talent, absolutely zero discipline, and a personality that made him either the most entertaining or most infuriating footballer on the planet, depending on which week you asked. At his peak, around 2010 to 2012 at Manchester City and Italy, Balotelli was brilliant, strong, technically gifted, could score from anywhere, and had this calm arrogance in front of goal that made him genuinely elite. He dragged Italy to the Euro 2012 final with that semi-final performance against Germany. 2 goals, shirt off, flexing like a Greek god. Iconic. Jose Mourinho said he had the talent to win multiple Ballon d'Ors. Mourinho doesn't say that lightly, but the attitude problems were legendary. Setting off fireworks in his bathroom, throwing darts at youth players, walking into a women's prison to see what it was like, getting sent off constantly for stupid fouls and petulant behavior, falling out with every single manager he ever played for. AC Milan gave him a chance. Liverpool gave him a chance. Nice, Marseille, Brescia, everyone gave him chances. And every single time, the talent showed up for a few weeks before the chaos took over. Now in 2026, he's 35, playing in Al Ittifaq FC, still scoring occasionally, still being Balotelli. Mario Balotelli. Could have been a Ballon d'Or winner, became a meme instead. Why always him? Because he chose chaos. Dele Alli. The fall from grace, an English midfielder who at 20 years old looked like the future of English football, scored 18 Premier League goals in a season, was compared to Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, and then completely fell off a cliff in the space of 5 years. 2015 to 2017 at Tottenham. Dele was sensational. Goals from midfield, perfectly timed runs into the box, technical ability, confidence that made him unplayable. 18 league goals in 2016-17, playing for England at major tournaments. Genuinely looked like he'd be a world-class midfielder for a decade. PFA Young Player of the Year twice. The hype was massive. Everyone assumed he'd become one of the Premier League's best players. Then it all collapsed. Form disappeared completely. Couldn't get into Spurs' team. Got sold to Everton, where he was awful. Loaned to Besiktas, barely played. Then he moved to Como, where he played literally 9 minutes. In 2023, he gave an emotional interview revealing childhood trauma and addiction issues that affected his mental health. It explained a lot. This wasn't just bad form. This was someone struggling with serious personal demons, while the football world expected him to be a superstar. Now in 2026, he's 30, doesn't have a club since September 1st. 2025, Dele Alli, from 18 goal seasons and England call-ups to League One in 5 years. The talent was real. The fall was brutal. Ravel Morrison, the one Fergie couldn't save, the player Sir Alex Ferguson said was the most talented youngster he'd ever seen at Manchester United. More talented than Pogba, more talented than Beckham, more talented than Giggs, and he threw it all away with terrible decisions and worse company. At United's academy, Morrison was untouchable. Technically brilliant, vision for days, could dribble past anyone, scored goals for fun at youth level. Ferguson tried desperately to keep him on track, even letting him live at his house at one point to keep him away from bad influences in Manchester. Didn't work. Morrison kept getting into trouble, legal issues piled up, and United eventually gave up and sold him to West Ham in 2012 for almost nothing. He had brief flashes. That one incredible season at West Ham in 2013 where he looked genuinely world-class for about 3 months. Then it disappeared. discipline issues, attitude problems, falling out with managers everywhere he went. He bounced around clubs. QPR, Lazio, Mexico, Sweden, United States, back to England. 14 clubs in 12 years, never lasting more than a season anywhere. The talent was always visible in glimpses, but never sustainable. Now, in 2026, he plays somewhere in Middle East. Ravel Morrison, the most talented player Fergie ever saw, who threw it all away. Even Ferguson couldn't save him. Alexandre Pato, the injury-ruined wonder kid, a Brazilian striker who at 18 years old looked like the next Ronaldo, scored goals for fun at AC Milan, was genuinely world-class for about 3 seasons. Then his body just gave up on him. 2007 to 2011 at AC Milan. Pato was electric. Pace that made defenders look like they were running in quicksand, clinical finishing, incredible dribbling ability, and only a teenager. He scored against Barcelona, Real Madrid, all of Europe's elite. 51 goals in 117 matches for Milan before turning 22. The heir to Brazil's striker throne was obvious. Then the injuries started. Hamstrings, thighs, muscle problems constantly. He'd play 3 matches, get injured, miss 2 months. Come back, score a banger, get injured again. His body couldn't handle the speed and explosive movements. By 2012, he was more physio table than football pitch. Milan sold him back to Brazil in 2013. He tried comebacks at Corinthians, Chelsea, Villarreal, China. Brief flashes of the old Pato, then injuries again. Every single time. Not attitude, not partying, not bad decisions. Just a body that was built for brilliance but couldn't sustain it. Now in 2026, he's 36, retired, doing punditry, and looking back at what could have been if his muscles had cooperated. Alexandre Pato, world class at 20. Retired early because his body betrayed him. The talent was there. The hamstrings weren't. Jack Wilshere, England's glass cannon, an English midfielder who at 19 years old bossed Barcelona's midfield at the Camp Nou, looked like the future of English football, and then spent the next decade injured so often that people forgot he was still technically a professional footballer. 2010-2011 breakthrough season at Arsenal. Wilshere was sensational. Technical ability, vision, press-resistant, could dribble through tight spaces, ran games against Europe's elite. That performance against Barcelona where he outplayed Xavi and Iniesta at 19, genuinely world-class. England thought they'd found their midfield maestro for the next 15 years. Then the injuries started. Ankles, constantly. Stress fractures, ligament damage, surgery after surgery. He'd be out for a year, come back for 3 matches looking brilliant, then get injured again. Arsenal kept faith, gave him new contracts, but he was never fit long enough to build momentum. By 2018, he left Arsenal having made just 184 appearances in 10 years. Moved to Bournemouth, barely played. West Ham, same story. Retired at 30 because his body just couldn't take it anymore. Not a lack of talent, not attitude problems, just ankles made of glass and a career spent in treatment rooms instead of on pitches. Now in 2026, he's coaching Luton Town, passing on knowledge, looking painfully young to be retired. Jack Wilshere, bossed Barcelona at 19, retired at 30, played about 250 matches total. The talent was elite. The body wasn't. Ricardo Quaresma, the Trivela merchant, a Portuguese winger who came through Sporting's academy at the same time as Cristiano Ronaldo, was considered the more talented of the two, and then spent his entire career proving that talent without discipline gets you nowhere. Early 2000s at Sporting, then Barcelona, then Porto. Quaresma had everything. Incredible dribbling, pace, that Trivela, his signature outside of the foot cross shot that became his trademark. He was genuinely magical to watch. More naturally gifted than Ronaldo at the same age, according to people who saw them both. Then the attitude problem started. Fell out with Frank Rijkaard at Barcelona after 6 months. Couldn't handle being a rotation player. Moved to Inter, fell out with Jose Mourinho, his former Porto manager who loved him. That tells you everything. If Mourinho can't manage your ego, nobody can. He bounced around. Chelsea, Besiktas, back to Porto, Turkey, and ended his career in Vitoria. Talented everywhere, never lasted anywhere. Could have been a Ballon d'Or contender. Instead, became a journeyman with highlight reels. Ronaldo became the greatest player ever through obsessive work ethic and discipline. Quaresma became a cult hero in Turkey with a cool party trick. Now in 2026, he's 42, retired, occasionally does Trivelas at Legends matches for applause. Ricardo Quaresma, more talented than Ronaldo, achieved 1% of what Ronaldo did. The Trivela was world class. Everything else wasn't. Hatem Ben Arfa, the artist who self-destructed, a French winger with the kind of natural talent that made Zinedine Zidane call him a genius, dribbling ability that put defenders on posters, and an ego so massive it destroyed every single opportunity he ever got. Early career at Lyon, then Marseille, then that incredible 2011 to 2012 season at Newcastle. Ben Arfa was unplayable. Solo goals from his own half, dribbling past 5 players like they weren't there. That goal against Blackburn, where he genuinely made professional defenders look like traffic cones. Pure footballing artistry. He should have been playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid. Instead, he kept falling out with managers. Wouldn't track back, thought he was above tactical instructions, got frozen out at Newcastle despite being their best player. Moved to Hull on loan, fell out with Steve Bruce immediately. Nice gave him a chance in 2015. He was brilliant again for one season. 17 goals, creative brilliance, reminded everyone why he was special. PSG signed him, then Rennes, Valladolid, Bordeaux, same story everywhere. Flashes of genius, then ego problems, then gone. Retired at 37, having achieved a fraction of what his talent deserved. Now in 2026, he plays padel, and he's really good at it. Hatem Ben Arfa. Zidane called him a genius. He proved geniuses can waste everything. The talent was extraordinary. The attitude ruined it all. Freddy Adu, the American Pelé who wasn't. The next Pelé, American soccer's golden child, signed a $1 million Nike deal at 13 years old, joined MLS at 14, and was supposed to save American football single-handedly. Instead, he became the greatest cautionary tale about overhyping teenagers in sports history. Freddy Adu, 14 years old, playing professional soccer in MLS. The hype was astronomical. Cover of Sports Illustrated. Endorsement deals everywhere. Comparisons to Pelé. America genuinely believed they'd produced a generational talent who'd conquer Europe and make the sport mainstream. He was fine. Showed flashes at DC United, got called up to the U.S. national team at 16, moved to Benfica in 2007 as the American wonder kid ready to take Europe by storm. Then reality hit. He wasn't good enough. Not even close. Got loaned to Monaco, couldn't get in the team. Belenenses couldn't play. Aris, same story. He bounced through 14 clubs across 8 countries. Turkey, El Salvador, Serbia, Finland. Everywhere he went, he was just average. The problem? He wasn't actually a prodigy. He was a physically developed 14-year-old playing against grown men, which looked impressive. But his technical ability never reached elite level. By the time everyone else caught up physically, he had nothing special left. Retired at 32, playing in Sweden's 3rd division. Now in 2026, he's 36, retired, and a permanent reminder that hype doesn't equal talent. Freddy Adu, the next Pelé who became a journeyman. America's greatest what if that was never actually real. Honorable mention, Ronaldinho and Neymar, the GOATs that never were. Ronaldinho, for about 3 years, 2004 to 2006, he was the best footballer on the planet. Won the Ballon d'Or, dragged Barcelona back to elite status, played football with a smile that made the entire world fall in love with the sport again. He had everything: technique, creativity, flair, could score from anywhere, made defenders look stupid for fun. If he'd maintained that peak with Messi's discipline and Ronaldo's obsession, he'd be in the GOAT conversation without question. Instead, he chose nightlife over training. Partying became the priority. By 2008, he was overweight, unmotivated, and shipped off to Milan. Retired having achieved a fraction of what his talent deserved. Could have been the greatest ever. Chose to have fun instead. No regrets, apparently. Neymar had legitimate GOAT potential. At Barcelona, alongside Messi and Suarez, he was world-class. Technically brilliant, creative genius, could take over matches single-handedly. Then he moved to PSG for 222 million euros to escape Messi's shadow and become the man. Instead, he became injury-prone, party-focused, and more interested in being a celebrity than the best player alive. Injuries destroyed his prime. Partying, social media drama, and inconsistent commitment meant he never reached the heights his talent promised. Now, 34, playing in Santos, a cautionary tale about unfulfilled potential. Both had the talent to be GOATs. Neither had the dedication. That's the difference.